His sudden and violent end has people asking one question: was this really just an unfortunate tragedy? Or is there something much darker at play, with Chrisean's name already tied to endless controversy and a history of explosive behavior? Suspicions are growing fast. Her ex had been fighting for custody of their child. And now, just like that, he's gone. Was this just a tragic accident, or a deliberate move to eliminate the one person standing in the way of her complicated relationship with Blueface? Let's break down what we know so far. A tragic end. Caught on camera, Chrisean Rock's ex's story just took a serious turn. Authorities have now officially classified it as a homicide, and insiders are allegedly pointing fingers at her as the prime suspect. This isn't just social media speculation anymore, because a public press release confirmed that Ronnie, real name Karen Maike, was found unresponsive in southern Maryland on February 3rd. The details of this case are unraveling fast, and with Rock's history with Ronnie, people are wondering how long before her name gets officially tied to this investigation. Ronnie had suffered significant injuries in front of a residential home around 7:10 p.m. in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, just 25 minutes outside Baltimore. Authorities rushed to the scene, attempted life-saving measures, and had him transported to the University of Maryland Baltimore-Washington Medical Center. But it was too late. At first, details were scarce, but then his uncle Doyne D. Hill went on Facebook and confirmed what many had feared: Ronnie's life was taken. He described Ronnie as a son to him, someone he cared for deeply, and made it clear that he wasn't buying the idea that this was just some tragic accident. In his eyes, too many details weren't adding up, and he wasn't alone in thinking that. And then, not long after, Marin police dropped the official press release confirming what many had already suspected: Ronnie's death wasn't just an unfortunate incident, it was a homicide. But the craziest part, this wasn't some random act of violence. Authorities were quick to rule that out, which meant one thing: someone wanted him gone. This was deliberate and intentional. Somebody had a motive. And now the question was who. As of now, Chrisean Rock has stayed completely silent about Ronnie's passing. Fallout between Chrisean and Ronnie just weeks before his death. Given how explosive their history was, many are questioning if she had anything to do with this, with the homicide ruling official. The police aren't just treating this as another street incident. This is now a full-blown investigation. Detectives are collecting evidence, speaking to witnesses, and putting the pieces together. For those who don't know, Ronnie and Chrisean had a rocky history, and their issues weren't just behind closed doors. Just back in December 2024, Ronnie confronted Chrisean Rock in a tense public showdown at a shopping mall.
You ran behind them. I'm trying to holler at you like a dog. Police. You a police.
He was demanding answers, accusing her of keeping his son away from him, and calling her out for refusing to acknowledge him instead of responding. She called the cops on.
Right here, Junior right here. Weird. You weird as shit. You weird as shit.
What's wrong?
You weird as shit. Ain't nobody stalking you. That's my son. That's my son. That's my.
To Ronnie, that was the ultimate betrayal. He didn't take it lightly. He went off on her publicly, blasting her online, and making sure everyone knew exactly how he felt. He called her a rat for involving the police instead of facing him directly, making it clear that in his eyes she had crossed a line that couldn't be undone. But Chrisean doubled down in a way that only added fuel to the fire. She named her baby Jesus Porter, and according to her, the father is none other than Blueface. She stood by that claim since the beginning, shutting down any doubts and making it clear that as far as she's concerned, there's no question about who the baby belongs to. But not everyone has been convinced, especially Ronnie. In the months leading up to his death, Ronnie had been challenging her story. He didn't just question it in private. He made sure the whole world saw his side. He called her out online, repeatedly demanding that she take a paternity test to settle the matter once and for all. And he was through with asking politely. He put pressure on her every chance he got, making sure she knew that he wasn't going to let it go. He truly believed he was the real father, and until he had proof otherwise, he wasn't backing down.
I got concrete evidence right here for y'all. All I want y'all to do is hold people accountable so that Chrisean Jesus Porter can have the life that he deserves and the father that he deserves.
He was demanding a DNA test for baby Chrisean Jesus, claiming that despite what Rock said, he was the real father, not Blueface. After that, Ronnie's credibility took a hit. when Rock's sister Chastity publicly called him out saying he was a liar and nobody should take him seriously. She shut down his claims of being in the delivery room when Chrisean gave birth and doubled down that he wasn't the father. But it didn't stop there. Ronnie kept pushing, insisting that he wanted the DNA test.
Process of her going to abort his baby, she got pregnant with mine. And that's why she's scared to do a DNA test.
And now just weeks later, he's dead. A tragic coincidence or something deeper? The timing alone has people questioning everything, because this didn't just happen out of nowhere. This went down right after Ronnie claimed he had undeniable proof. He wasn't just talking, he was taking action. He insisted that he and Chrisean were together in January of last year, right when she would have conceived, and he wasn't letting it slide. He was ready to take things to court, already pushing for a legally mandated DNA test to prove once and for all that Chrisean's son was his. But for Ronnie, this fight wasn't just about biology. It wasn't just about proving a point. It was about protecting that baby. He made it clear that in his eyes, Chrisean wasn't providing the care her couldn't just stand by and watch. To him, stepping up as the real father wasn't just something he wanted to do. It was something he felt he had no choice. But to do this wasn't just a paternity battle. It was about making sure the child had the life stability and help he deserved. And now with Ronnie gone, that fight is over before it even truly began. And Ronnie's history with Chrisean wasn't just casual. This is the same guy who once took a life defending her back when she was in college. He put everything on the line for her before, and now he was ready to do it again. But this time for his son. But that wasn't the end of it. Determined to prove his case, Ronnie took things to the legal system, filing in court for a paternity test. Yet, allegedly ignoring the legal process entirely. He should have seen it coming. Chrisean was never one to play by the rules, and if the situation wasn't going in her favor, she wasn't about to sit back and let the law decide. With the pressure mounting and the stakes getting higher, it was only a matter of time before she handled things her own way. Anyone paying attention could see this was heading toward disaster. Chan's obsession with Blueface wasn't just intense, it was all-consuming. She didn't just love him. She worshipped him to the point where she literally inked his face onto her own. That wasn't just a statement, it was a declaration, a permanent mark proving she belonged to him and no one else. She wore her loyalty like an armor, exactly where she stood. And if that meant shutting down anyone who tried to challenge her place in Blueface's life, then so be it. So when Ronnie came forward with his paternity claims, threatening to disrupt the fantasy she had built, it was clear she wasn't going to take it lightly. This wasn't just about proving who the father was, it was about control in her mind. Nothing, not an X, not a DNA test, not even the truth was going to stand in the way of her and Blueface. Their entire relationship was a ticking time bomb, a disaster unfolding in plain sight. It was the kind of train wreck you knew was bound to derail. But no matter how bad it got, you couldn't look away. Even Blueface had his doubts behind the scenes. He wasn't taking Chrisean's word for it. He secretly took a DNA swab to get his own answers, running a paternity test on baby Chrisean Jr. And when the results came back, they confirmed what he had suspected all along. He wasn't the father. Blueface wasted no time going public with the revelation, making it clear that he was relieved to be out of that situation. He walked away and made sure the world knew exactly why, and he didn't hold back. When it came to exposing Chan, painting her as a serial manipulator who went to extreme lengths to deceive everyone, he broke down the details, pointing out something that had everyone giving her a second look. Hospitals don't typically allow filming in delivery rooms, yet somehow Chrisean managed to find one that did. Why? According to him, it was never about the baby. It was about attention. She wanted to craft the perfect image to control the narrative and make sure the world saw her as a devoted mother, while keeping everyone emotionally invested in her story. But he wasn't done. He claimed that everything had been orchestrated, from the timing of her trip to Baltimore weeks before her due date to ensuring that cameras were rolling at every crucial moment. And here's where things got even more suspicious. He pointed out that for someone having her first child, Chan seemed oddly knowledgeable about the entire birth.
Live, and she cries and says that I'm a terrible guy. Makeup's done, her jewelry's on, her nails are done. Everything is pre-planned. That's the genius part about her fame. Her claim to fame is sympathy.
And whenever he questioned her go-to move was always the same: turn on the waterworks, call him a terrible person, and shift the blame. But behind the scenes, he was the one paying for everything: her makeup, her clothes, her rent, her entire lifestyle. He was starting to see the pattern. And he wasn't the only one. Now sources are saying Chrisean wasn't just mad at Blueface for questioning things. She was furious at Ronnie allegedly. She blamed him for putting the idea of a paternity test in Blueface's head, setting off a chain reaction she couldn't control. And if what insiders are saying is true, she wasn't about to let that slide. That's how Ronnie Doe ended up dead. All he wanted was to step up and take care of a child he believed was his. Ronnie, and looking at this evidence, it might already be too late for Jesus Porter to fighting for Chrisean. Jesus Porter, Ronnie Doe, had been fighting to take custody of the baby, convinced that Chrisean Rock was unfit to care for him. And he wasn't the only one worried. Fans had been collecting disturbing evidence that painted a grim picture of the child's condition. Videos started circulating online showing the baby barely reacting to the world around him. Instead of reaching or engaging like most infants, he just stared off blankly, his eyes wide set and unfocused, his head often drooped, lacking the strength most babies his age should have. And his movements seemed weak and uncoordinated. It wasn't long before people started making pregnancy. Others speculated that his condition had similarities to Chrisean syndrome, a rare genetic disorder known for affecting facial structure and cognitive development. Whether it was FS or something else, one thing was undeniable: this baby was not thriving. Every new clip, every public appearance, only raised more concerns. And Ronnie, he wasn't about to sit back and pretend everything was fine. He was actively fighting for a court-ordered DNA test, not just to establish whether he was the father, but because he knew the child needed help to him. It wasn't about proving a point. It was about stepping in and making sure the baby got the care he so desperately needed. And the more people watched, multiple videos capturing unsettling moments of how Rock handles her baby, and each one seems more disturbing than the last. In one clip, she's lounging back in a salon chair, completely unfazed, getting her eyelashes done while her baby cries. But what really shocked people was how casually she bottle-fed him with one hand, as if he were an afterthought. The baby's discomfort was obvious, but she showed no real urgency, no real care. Just another moment caught on camera that left people wondering, was she even paying attention to what was happening right in front of music? Your Kingdom, his tiny head flops around with no support, his body limp in her arms, as she pays more attention to her manic than his well-being, holding him incorrectly, feeding him in risky positions, or outright neglecting him while distracted by something else. The most shocking part, no one around her steps in. But there's a reason for that. People close to Chrisean, her friends, her family, have all admitted that she loses it any time someone tries to intervene. She doesn't take advice. She doesn't take help. She reacts with instant defensiveness, flipping out if anyone questions how she cares for her baby. One particularly disturbing story came from her own sister, who allegedly tried to take the baby to the hospital out of concern for his health. Chrisean panicked. She refused. Why? Because she was terrified they'd see the truth that her child was being neglected. Instead of approaching the situation with the seriousness it deserved, she treated it like just another moment to capitalize on. There was no real concern in her voice, no urgency in her response. Just another chance to keep the spotlight on herself, rather than making a heartfelt statement or reassuring anyone about her child's health. She went straight to Snapchat, her biggest moneymaker, where she gets paid by the views. Instead of offering clarity or even addressing people's fears, she turned the entire thing into a promotional stunt.
You ain't talking about your baby because it don't get you views. You can't talk about your own kids. You know why? Because it ain't going to get you views. It's not going to get people watching. So yeah, talk about what's most wanted. Talk about what's most...
In one clip, she's laughing like none of this is serious, dismissing the comments as if they're just haters exaggerating. While people are genuinely worried about her baby's well-being, she's hyping up her new music, acting like the discussion around her son is just background noise. And if that wasn't bad enough, she takes it even further, plugging her flag football league like it's all part of some marketing rollout. No moment of reflection, no addressing the obvious struggles her baby is facing, just another way to keep the attention on her, while completely ignoring the reality of the situation.
No, it's not blind. No, it's not retarded. He's a f***ing child. It got me up. But it's cool though. It is real cool how y'all just, that's all y'all want to sit up and talk about. I don't give a, you know what I'm saying? I really don't give two f***s for.
And that's when it clicked for a lot of people. This baby wasn't about family love or responsibility for her. He was about clout and promotion. Chrisean might try to brush it off, But the truth is catching up to her fast as Junior grows. It's becoming impossible to ignore something is seriously wrong. His development isn't like other kids his age, and people are starting to take notice. Even Blueface's mom, Carissa Saffold, couldn't stay quiet about it. She came forward making it clear that she saw this coming from the start. According to her, she knew the baby had serious neurological issues, and she knew exactly why Chrisean didn't stop drinking for a second while she was pregnant. She can try to downplay it, but the reality is setting it. She can't. Story that made it crystal clear where she stood after everything she had witnessed from Chrisean. It seemed like she had reached her breaking point, and instead of expressing shock or sympathy, her reaction was something else entirely: relief. She openly admitted that she was actually glad her son was in jail, because at least there he was far away from Chan and whatever chaos she was bringing to the world. That says a lot for a mother to prefer her child behind bars rather than out in the real world, dealing with a certain person. That speaks volumes about just how dangerous she believes Chrisean really is. One video that recently resurfaced is sending shockwaves through social media. A guy at a club secretly recorded Chan clearly pregnant with a visible belly bump, casually
owing me money, cool. You gonna have to answer to my nigga when you come home. You stupid ass nigga. Don't give a f. The two youngest. So go ahead. All you niggas, play. Go ahead.
If you still think that didn't affect her baby, just take one look at the heartbreaking footage of him. Now his head shape isn't normal, his limbs seem weak, and every little movement looks like a struggle. Even his breathing looks labored, like just existing is exhausting for him. But let's take a closer look at how Chrisean's reckless behavior didn't just impact her baby. It also put a major strain on her relationship with Blueface. Chan's history of violence, Chrisean and Blueface's relationship has always been a toxic whirlwind, and most people assume they broke up because of their usual chaos. But her reckless and dangerous behavior wasn't just something fans speculated about. It was something Blueface had to experience. Seeing how she treated her baby, the way she handles him with no care, the risky situation she constantly puts him in, it's the same behavior Ronnie Du saw and tried to call out before he was taken out of the picture. But while Ronnie was warning everyone from the outside, Blueface was dealing with it up close and personal. It's no coincidence that Blueface finally started pulling away once he saw just how bad things were getting. He stuck around for the madness for years. But something about this was different. And if a guy who was willing to tolerate their constant public fights, physical altercations, and all the chaos suddenly decides he's done, that says a lot. One viral video captured just how out of control things had gotten between—
Damn. Yo, you guys just dropped the phone? You just dropped the phone? Yo, why are you hitting that man? Yo, he's not doing nothing to you. Why are you hitting that man?
In the clip, Chrisean is seen physically attacking Blueface in public, repeatedly swinging on him while he tries to get away. He backs up trying to de-escalate, but she's not letting it go. She chases him down relentless, making it clear that walking away wasn't an option. And what could Blueface have done to set her off like this? Allegedly, he had just found out that she had been cheating on it. And instead of taking accountability, instead of even attempting to apologize, Chrisean did what she does best. She completely lost it and took it out on it. She didn't just argue or deny it, she straight up beat him in the middle of the street, proving to everyone that when Chan feels cornered, she fights back in the most explosive way possible.
You see what it looks like? Looks crazy, right? But I'm no bitch, so I'm gonna put this paper towel right here, put my hat on, and do what a nigga with nuts would do.
But what made the clip truly unsettling wasn't just the fact that he was injured. It was how eerily calm he was about it, as if this was just another day in their toxic cycle. Instead of reacting with anger or even defending himself, he was focused on calming her down. Chrisean was in full meltdown mode, sitting in his car completely unraveling, while he sat there bleeding and still trying to talk her down. The way he handled it like it was routine said everything. This wasn't just a one-time explosion. This was their normal her. Violent outbursts weren't just a one-time thing. They happened multiple times, and fans started to notice a pattern. People knew that they had a bit of a toxic relationship. But the reality was that it was clearly an abusive situation. One of the most chilling moments came during an Instagram live. Blueface was casually talking to his fans, just vibing, when suddenly Chrisean appeared in the background. Now, in any normal relationship, this would have been a sweet moment. Maybe she would have greeted him, maybe he'd ask her about her day. But that's not what happened.